Yeah, peace for a woman is definitely important. That's why the Tamara, which one got divorced? Which one getting a divorce?
Tia.
Tia is probably getting divorced because her peace of mind. You know, a lot of women are willing to walk away from their families, not families, but they'll separate, break up the family for peace.
She's completely delusional. When
Oh,
you listen to her account of what how she looked at marriage,
uh-huh.
she lives on another planet. So that's one
They
thing.
usually
And,
do.
and
Yeah.
there was a rumor that I don't know if this part was a rumor, but she met the hard what's the guy's name, Corey. She met him
At a bus stop.
when he was broke and not necessarily not doing anything with himself, but he was struggling. And part of the reason why the marriage failed was she got tired of him around things that had to do with finances. So, she should have understood that in the very beginning. If he was broke back then and he didn't seem to know how to deal with money, don't try to build a bear him and turn him into a man that is frugal and does all the right things. Like, you know what you got in the beginning. Don't think that a man is going to change.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, he was
If that's the case.
Yeah, he was a struggling. He was a up and coming artist, and I
But
think
wouldn't that
that
be like building with him though?
yeah.
Wait.
So I think at some point he should have realized it wasn't working, and okay, maybe I need to try a different path.
Nelson,
But
I like what you
sometimes they
said.
just they hold on to that dream, baby.
No,
It's
Nelson,
gonna
I
break
like what you
one
said,
day.
because my dad always taught me and my sisters, like, how you meet a man is typically how he's going to be. Like, don't think that you're going to go into any relationship or any situation where you're going to be able to change another human, because the majority of the time who you meet is what you're getting. And like, people can change, but most of the time that has to be something that they want to do. So if you're going into a situation and you're like, oh, I see potential, he could be this, he could be that, and it's like you're being goofy, because if he doesn't see that in himself and he doesn't want to change, then what you're seeing is what you're gonna get. So
Well,
You
I
do the
think
same thing with women too, because
same. Either way,
once
either way it goes.
we go after the women that barely wear any kind of clothes, and then we lock them up, and then we
they gonna
automatically
change the whole
think they're going to be
time.
wearing these full dresses and covering everything up for us.
I do have
we
a
do the same
question.
thing.
This might be a little bit off topic, but I'm just curious to know, like, why do you think, like, why do you think that maybe Black men aren't being more intentional in dating and like trying to marry? Like, why is it so smash and let's go to the next and let's play around? Like, Black men play for a very long time.
A
Their 40s,
long time.
50s, as long as they look kind of decent, or their money might be a little right. That doesn't even have to be the case, and they still can play around. So why are they not taking marriage more seriously? Why are they so quick to shoot up the club? And I know you can't speak for everybody, but just curious as to.
I really think this is systemic. Like this, there are so many different factors. There are, like, one, we're taught at an early age that we need to be manipulative. We're taught that we need to have game. We're taught especially by our fathers and our uncles. We're taught the things we need to say to a woman
by other Black men.
Well,
Be Taylor stuff.
But we're taught what to say, how to do it, and it's very much sensationalized, the idea of having as many women as you can. Like, that's just kind of that's kind of a known fact of kind of the way that our community runs. But to me, it's a 50-50 thing too, because the women that you have a lot of the young men in high school got a great head on their shoulders, but because they are not the star of the team, or because they're not going around playing all the girls and they're more quiet and they just want to get to know you, they get looked over. And then what ends up happening is the women realize later on, after they had a kid or two, that this was a good guy that I had back there and I felt safe with him. You try to go back to him, and by that time, he's so beaten down by, never being able to really get anybody, or feeling like he's, not worth anything, that now he's turned into a dog too. Like, we both create each other. It's not one or the other.
So
That's safe.
women
Just like
create
the
the F
girl,
boy.
right? It's just like the girl in high school that was promiscuous that is still doing that in her adult life, and now she's trying to turn around 3 kids later, and she's like, I want a good guy who's gonna, And I've
let's
even
not
seen
think.
jokes where they're like, girls be hopping in the dude's inbox that they played like years ago, and they were like, "Hey, big head," after they had 3.
And let me just say this.
Sometimes,
Sometimes, and this is the thing women need to understand. Sometimes the promiscuous woman does not have kids. Sometimes she can't have kids. Sometimes she has had so many abortions you can't even count them. So you can't judge a book by because she's had kids. Sometimes that's just the woman who just didn't want to have abortion. She doesn't believe in abortion. But so I hate when that whole thing. Like we can tell because of the kids, because that gives people who aren't promiscuous, who just had a kid, a relationship of that name, when it's the hoe that don't have the kids who be declaring it, they know her name with them signs, they like, you back, like
I mean, that's true, but you gotta.
That's why they can judge, because you don't got the receipts to see like, oh, she did that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because as clinicians, we need to look at the risk factors. So when you look at a risk factor for being with a woman that's promiscuous, having a lot of kids, that is a risk factor. That kind of it tells a little bit of a story, of bits and pieces of their life, their attitude, the way they behave, where they live, all these different things.
Of course, yeah.
You get information from these things. So you're right. It does kind of let the ones that don't have any kids a little bit off the hook. But I think once you sit and talk with them for a little bit, you can kind of see why they're single and why why they've been around.
I'll say this and then I'll go into the super chats. Do you, because this comment kind of like sparked a question, do you think the Ciara's prayer kind of sparked delusion with a lot of like it's women that's like 5 kids and they're like, Ciara's prayer, like I'm gonna get me my
she had 1 child, not 5. Russell didn't sign up for 5. He signed up for 1.
Nobody knows anything about Russell Wilson. If we need to really take a deep look into his character, because if you look around and you listen around the NFL, different men tell you about what he's actually like.
What?
So,
tell us.
Not that
listen, all I know is that man hold down his family. That's all that matters.
What he like? I want to know.
Yeah, like give us.
He's incredibly self-centered. He won't even talk to his own teammates, but through his agent. Like those are different factors that go into his own character, that he believes he's above everybody else. I'd be scared. I'd be terrified that man's a narcissist.
Really?
He's not diagnosing.
It's given.
That's not. Oh no. I'm saying a narcissist. If I was diagnosing, I'd say narcissistic personality disorder. I'll make that distinction. So I'm not diagnosing.
Okay, so, but women look at Ciara and say, wow, like that could be me. That gives me hope that I'm in this situation and I am going to get my Russell Wilson. Do you think that creates delusion or creates women to do better?
It creates delusion, and then when they do get in relationships that resemble that, they realize that those relationships are toxic, because the men that present themselves to be the amazing men that can do no wrong, they tend to be narcissists. Derek Jackson.
She looks happy with that narcissist.
Can I also just say that I feel like not all single moms are the same. Like there's levels to the single mom thing. Like you got the ratchet ones who are living off the government doing XYZ, and then you have the other ones who are really killing it. And I just like there's a different caliber of single moms.
There
I wish that was talked about more, because a lot of times you say single mom and you think from the trenches, she's ghetto, she's this, she's that, and it's like.
Some amazing people, especially in our community, came from single moms.
Yeah, Obama came from a single mother.
Unfortunately, of course, that's not the ideal situation. Let's not
the ideal. But I think they need to stop trying to condemn the children, like, or say, "Oh, those children are gonna be messed up." No, you got messed up. Say you got messed up. Don't say
It's
anybody
like
else's children are messed up.
and I
You
think
got
that
messed
too,
up.
it depends on your I mean, I kind of like
Your
what that girl
village.
was saying at the beginning. It depends on your village, because even though the father may not be there, maybe there was a grandfather who stepped in as the father, or there were other
Yes.
father figures, and those people make a difference, because those father figures, yes, the father wasn't there, but there were father figures in the,
Wait, I
around the
thought a
village.
single mother is a woman who just she's not married, because like there's women who will call themselves single mothers, but they have not only a village of support, but the fathers are like heavily involved, and everybody's a big family.
Can we all define what single moms
Oh
mean?
yeah,
I
I'd like
consider
to.
myself a single mom, and I got all that. I got an involved father and involved family.
Maybe we need to
Because it's a generic term.
and
When they
say
count in the census, they look at it unmarried when they're counting that. If you're, because
no,
they don't count cohabitating, they don't count if the dad is involved. What they count when they're doing is like, the census is she married or not?
no, I'm not talking about the
It's
census. I'm
single.
talking about like men in particular. When they hear, first of all, it's such a negative stereotype, right? That they type all situations all in one. And they say, "Oh, you should never slept with that man if he wasn't going to take care of his kids." And it's like, he is taking care
Nigga,
of
do
his
you think we
kids.
would have if we would have known?
But then it's
Well,
like,
he
but then no,
is.
but some situations like he is taking care of his kids. He picks them up every day from school. Like, what are you talking about?